Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to wrap up my favorite movies to watch during Halloween. This, of course, is not a full extensive list of all of the things that I like to watch during Halloween. There is not enough October time to cover everything that I love, but I definitely wanted to conclude with this one because it is my absolute favorite. And of course, I wanted to make sure that it was uploaded on today specifically, and that is Devil's Night. Now that should give some of you a clue as to what movie we're going to talk about, and that is The Crow, the 1993 version starring Brandon Lee. I am not a fan of any of the sequels or anything that came past that, television series, anything like that. Not a fan. For me, it lived and died with Brandon. It is his legacy. He literally gave his life for it, and it will always be his in my mind and in my heart. So for those of you who are not familiar with The Crow, this is a comic book that was adapted into film form, and it is the story of Eric Draven and Shelley Webster, who are engaged, and they are murdered by a gang in the neighborhood where they live. And a year later, Eric Draven comes back as a spirit in order to kind of seek revenge on this gang and take them all out in order to obviously get revenge, like I said, for his killing. And it's just, it's such a good one. And I was such a fan of Brandon prior to this movie coming out. I really loved his films, and this one, in my opinion, was kind of the role that would have launched his career if it had not ended his life. I don't think that any of his other movies really gave him the level of stardom that this one did. And I don't know if a lot of that fame that came to him was due to the fact that he did lose his life for this, but I think that he embodied the role so well that I don't know. I can't imagine anyone else playing it. I know Jason Momoa had signed on for a period of time there to do the reboot. And then when he stepped away, the reboot was recast with Bill Skarsgård, and they have recently, I think maybe a month ago, wrapped filming for the reboot of The Crow. And to me, even though I enjoy Bill Skarsgård and I think he's an amazing actor, I think the entire Skarsgård family just is really talented. Nothing against Bill in any way, shape, or form, but I will not be going to see the reboot version of The Crow. It's an automatic boycott for me, just because I think, like I said, this is Brandon Lee's legacy. I feel the same way about Alec Baldwin moving forward to continue filming the rest of the movie Rust. He took someone's life on the set of that film, and no offense, but I don't think anybody is rushing to see Alec Baldwin in anything after how he's behaved during all of that. And I think it says a lot about kind of who he is as a person. I know the actor that accidentally did fire the weapon that took Brandon Lee's life was traumatized by that, as I feel like anyone would be. So the fact that Alec Baldwin kind of doesn't seem to care at all shows the type of person that he is. And that's sort of the way that I feel about the reboot for The Crow with Hollywood. Hollywood's on this huge reboot thing. I don't think any of their reboots have actually been very good. Most of them actually have been quite terrible. So the idea of The Crow being rebooted and in any way taking away that legacy from Brandon Lee, I think is just, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. It makes me feel weird. So no hate whatsoever towards Bill Skarsgård, but for me, I just don't, I don't like it, and I won't go see it. So yeah, but I do think just such an incredible film. I think if anyone hasn't seen it, you should definitely check it out. The soundtrack also is one of my favorites. I think the soundtrack itself is one of the very few soundtracks from movies that I love pretty much every single song from, and they get stuck in my head like crazy. I think just the entirety of The Crow from all of the actors, like the music, the soundtrack, the way that it was filmed. It just worked. It worked so well. So I can't really imagine a reboot of it. No offense to anyone who's working on that project or has worked on that project. I just can't see it actually coming to life in a way that is equal to or better than what Brandon Lee and the cast of the original film brought to the table. So those are my thoughts on The Crow. Before I wrap this episode, though, I did want to talk about another recasting. Just speaking of recasting, there is some huge news going around that I feel like is kind of causing a stir. And for anyone that hasn't heard this news, where have you been? It's like blowing up all over the internet. But Henry Cavill has decided to step away from the Witcher series and return to playing Superman, and his role of Geralt has been given to Liam Hemsworth. I know that there are a lot of people that are quite upset about this, which I kind of find a little bit interesting to see, because I know when Henry Cavill was initially cast for the role of The Witcher, people were angry about it. And then once they saw kind of what he did, they enjoyed it, and now they're mad, that he's leaving. And I don't know if there are extra reasons behind it. Like, I know I've heard a couple of rumors about Henry Cavill not being on board with the showrunner's direction, that they weren't like sticking to the books and things like that. But as far as I know, there hasn't been any confirmation from Cavill that any of that has anything to do with his leaving. From what I've read, at least, he is only stepping away to be able to do Superman again. And to be quite honest, even though I cannot picture Liam Hemsworth in like the blonde wig, I do really like Liam Hemsworth, and I would love to see him in some more roles that kind of, I don't know, break him out of some of the other stuff that he's done. I don't think I've ever seen him like in a lead role that hasn't, that has like really blown my mind or been incredible, So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what he can do with The Witcher. It could be a total flop and an absolute like worst decision ever. And we might just see The Witcher end after season 4, but I don't know. I'm anxious to kind of see what Liam can bring to the table. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, this won't be until season 4. So it'll still be Henry Cavill, obviously, for season 3. And then Liam will step in after that. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. Sometimes recastings can be good, sometimes not. But as far as like reboots go, I'm never usually for them. So we'll have to see what happens. Those are my thoughts on the recasting for The Witcher and for The Crow. Please let me know what you guys think of either thing. Subscribe if you want to join the movie nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.